All right, what's good, everybody? We're back with our third episode of the Sheisty Show. I'm Akil Narvikar,
I'm Aviguda.
and we are back today with mainly um, just NFL, NBA happenings since the last time we spoke. Obviously, at the time of this recording, we are pretty much on the precipice of the NBA Finals. We have one more game to go in the Eastern Conference Finals, and then of course we have a familiar face back in the finals in the West and the Golden State Warriors. So that's what we're gonna start off with today with the upcoming finals, and implications for different players, stuff along those lines, and yeah. So with our one finalist that we already know out of the West, with Golden State. I think what's been on a lot of people's minds now has been, Steph Curry's all-time standing now, and how it could be, definitely enhanced already with another finals appearance post Kevin Durant leaving the team. But definitely will be vaulted up probably with a win and his first finals MVP. So yeah, what are your thoughts on that as well?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I was watching something the other day, and they were debating whether Steph was going to end up as a top 10 point guard or top 10 all time. I think not point guard, but one, I think he already is. He is the greatest shooter in NBA history, and I think I agree with you there. If winning another ring and then bringing home a Finals MVP too is gonna definitely solidify that, and I don't think it'll be a debate after that. I think it's just too hard to argue when you have someone playing at that high of a level and for that long. So,
yeah, definitely. It's probably gonna stand out as his most impactful like finals appearance so far, at least legacy wise.
I think the other ones, they kind of had I don't like saying this, but other people may think of them as having like an asterisk next to them, just because you're playing with Klay Thompson before he was injured. You're playing with KD in his prime, so people are gonna say that they ultimately helped him win those rings, but which obviously they did, but I think Steph deserves a lot of credit in those runs as well.
Yeah, I mean, I pre KD making it, he won a chip without KD, so that is there, but for obvious reasons with Kyrie and Kevin Love going out in their first finals, and LeBron alone basically still taking him six. A lot of people do look at that ring a bit sideways, and I mean you could injuries pretty much affect every year in the finals, but all rings aren't created equally, obviously. So this one, if they're able to get over the hump, it's probably going to be the most valuable, looking back legacy wise.
Yeah.
Beyond that, it's kind of just wild how Golden State as a whole has just pretty much jump started their dynasty again and picked up right where they left off with the first year of Klay coming back. And you don't typically see dynasties being able to also like build up their young talent at the same time and bring them along. I feel like that's really rare. And you've seen with the Warriors, their two rookies with like Kuminga and Moody playing pretty important minutes at certain times this playoff run. And obviously it goes without saying, Jordan Poole should have been a candidate for most improved player this year, somehow wasn't. But yeah, I feel like only the Spurs and with Kawhi would be the only time I can remember like one of those dynasty level
Yeah.
teams just build their young talent along the way.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, it's just insane what the Warriors have been able to do over the last decade or so, just bringing in youngsters and being able to develop them there without, there's a lot of nowadays when you look at the NBA, when you think of the NBA, you see a lot of big free agency splash signings, max contracts, teams trying to bring people in from outside, but the Warriors have been able to kind of figure out a formula that works for them, drafting well and developing their players, in-house, and they haven't really had to. Obviously, KD is the big standout there in terms of free agency signings, but besides that, the Warriors have done, an excellent job of kind of being able to maintain and build that talent in-house.
Yeah, yeah. Most of the guys that have been part. I mean, all of the guys in their core pretty much
Yeah.
Clay, Steph, Draymond were drafted by the Warriors, and I guess the one big one this year was it didn't happen this year, but yeah, trading for Andrew Wiggins at the time was looked at as a really dodgy move, considering at the time Wiggins really was considered a bust, having gone number 1 overall, and they found a way to rejuvenate his career to an extent, as like probably their on certain nights like their fourth or fifth option. But I mean, this Warriors team has it's been throughout really, but again through the draft and those few signings here and there, they're just absurdly deep now.
Yeah.
And I feel like unlike their past teams before Durant, it's really taken I feel like it's taken a bit of the burden off Steph to a degree. This isn't one of his like best individual playoff runs. He kind of just like does what he needs to when it's needed, but at the same time, Jordan Poole has sort of taken some of the offensive burden off of him. Clay is getting there, honestly. He's considering the really severe injuries that he's sustained. It's wild that Klay Thompson even can have games like you saw in the closeout against Dallas.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, we have Boston and Miami still duking it out. So a week ahead of our finals. So I mean, at the time of this recording, we've got we're just off the heels of Jimmy Butler's historic performance to push this 7. I guess my first thought on that would be I like most people just did not see a way this series didn't end in Boston last night, and it probably would have. Lowry
should have, I think.
Yeah, I think Lowry chipped in with like a good game last night. They definitely
he bounced back. I think he had a bad couple of showings in the last 2 games, but last night was a good game for him.
Yeah, but with Hero, I think still sidelined, and Bam still struggles. Bam has struggled a lot this series. He's been a no-show a couple of games and was again last night. So Jimmy really just one of those all-out performances and it's really weird with Jimmy because I feel like he kind of just like performs like a superstar whenever like he feels like it, pretty much. Because he'll have these like monster, you saw it in the bubble too, monster like games, and then follow it up with like 12 points. It's a really strange phenomenon with him.
Yeah, he's very hit or miss in terms of games, but I think when he needs to step up, he does, as we saw last night. Going into Game 7, I think that's tomorrow. I don't know. I'm trying to think about who I think has the edge in terms of who I think is going to win. I think the Heat are just a very grit and grind team. If you watched like the last 10, 8 to 10 minutes of yesterday's game, you saw that everyone was contributing the best they could. PJ Tucker had a couple of big steals, big rebounds. Bam did too. Jimmy Butler hit some insane shots, as we're used to seeing him do. And then Lowry hit a big shot or two as well. So I think they can very much grind it out, but I think the Celtics, in my opinion, are just a better all-around team, better balanced. So I think they're probably going to have the edge in terms of game 7, but home court advantage is a big thing. So that's something to consider as well.
Yeah, I mean, it is tough to really put a finger on who's going to have the edge in game 7. Momentum for Boston has obviously been just stopped in its tracks pretty much from what they had going for them in game 4 and 5, pretty much 2 blowouts more or less. And yeah, I agree that Boston is the better team. That's been the discourse around the series pretty much throughout. Miami really, Jimmy aside, especially with Hero sideline, I feel like he's gonna have to play. If it's not all that serious, and I don't think it's something that he wouldn't be able to play through in a game 7 with the season on the line.
Yeah.
So I feel like he'll suit up for that game, but still, it's definitely like a struggle for Miami at times to create offense aside from Jimmy.
Yeah.
And
I don't know if they can rely on Jimmy to put up that kind of number again.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you watch, there were a couple of bad calls at the end of last night's game, and the Celtics had a couple of sloppy turnovers. So the score is kind of deceiving. I think it was a 8-point difference, but it should have been a lot closer if the Celtics didn't make those, sloppy plays. So the Heat just squeaked by, and that was with Jimmy putting up 47. So
Yeah. I don't know. I still do kind of lean Boston just because it's been strange with them too this playoffs. They seem to play better off of losses. It is the kind of like inconsistency you wouldn't expect from such a top tier team, but that's just kind of been the way it is. And I still give them the edge. But definitely home court advantage plays a part, and it's definitely a much tougher call now that Miami somehow find a way to push the 7 when it appeared that there'd be no way back for them in this one after games 4 and 5.
Yeah.
I do also want to touch on the one thing that's been going around on like Twitter with these conference, and it is true, these conference finals haven't been, at least from a game to game, particularly from a game to game basis, they haven't been all that fun to watch, considering we've got mostly blowouts. Yesterday was actually the one exception to that, where we got a competitive game, especially in this Boston Miami series. Haven't gotten many close games there. I don't think we had any actually before. Before game 6 last night.
Yeah.
I guess it could be worse, like back in 2017 when we had the Warriors sweeping through and then the Cavs just blowing through whoever. I think it was Boston that year when basically just a gentleman's sweep. So
I think the finals this year, regardless of who wins, I think it'll be a good series though.
Yeah. I would say it'd be more competitive with Boston making it
Yeah.
if they're able to make it through this one.
Yeah, definitely agreed. Yeah.
They have they have the better personnel to really just their perimeter defenders and all pretty much across the board. They are the number one defense this playoffs for a reason. And yeah, I think they'd pose a stiffer challenge. You know, with Golden State, I don't think you're going to be able to get away with some of the stretches where Miami is just kind of challenged to score that you've seen throughout this series and throughout the playoffs at times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think the Celtics will put up a better fight if they end up making it. Yeah, I think they played a pretty good game last night, though. A few mistakes at the end. I think they were down in the third, and then they came back, but a few mistakes in the end, and that kind of screwed them over. So just got to clean up a couple of those things, and we'll see if that gets it done for them. But
yeah, for sure. I think Tatum had like 7 turnovers last night. So it's really been you know, in those type moments you can't afford the just throwing away possessions like they did at times last night.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was like 99, 96 or something like that, something pretty close. And then there were a couple of bad turnovers, bad plays from the Celtics that gave the game to Miami pretty much. So but yeah. Anything else you wanted to touch on for NBA finals? Anything?
Let me see. I guess. Yeah, I think we can move on to the draft.
Okay, yeah.
You know, last we spoke, we pretty much gave a rundown on a lot of teams' draft needs and basically previewing what we think their season is gonna go like this year. Now the draft is a couple weeks in the rear view now, and yeah, I typically, you know, quarterback obviously being the most important position in football is the most you know, buzz you get out of the draft a lot of times. This year I felt like what stuck out immediately was just how down you know, obviously we knew that media and people that were looking at it from the outside looking in were how they felt about the QB class this year, but you know, this year with aside from Pickett going in early in the first round, and even that was a, you know, controversial pick among people. It took such a long time for QBs to go off the board. I think the next one off was Ritter at
Pickett didn't even go early. I think he was the first quarterback taken, right? He got taken at 20. So
a relatively late first round pick, and then the next QB went like third round for which was, I think, Desmond Ritter after that for the Falcons. And Malik Willis he also got taken in the third round. So
this draft class is definitely not as, you know, strong as we've seen the last couple of years. At least as far as I can remember, you know, there's at least one quarterback being picked in the first round or in the top 10, top 15, you know. This year, not a single one. And I feel like there's no clear cut like top option either. Desmond Ritter taken in the third round could end up being just as good as Kenny Pickett. Obviously, that's for any draft, but the difference in draft value, I don't know if that's 2 rounds. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it plays out for them. Where did Pickett will have a good opportunity though with Pittsburgh. I think his only
Yeah.
competition is Mitch Trubisky. So,
Mhm.
yeah,
I th- yeah. I guess I don't know that I would say that a lot a lot of these QBs, you didn't even see like you didn't see movement in trading up or
oh yeah,
anything of that of that nature at all
Mhm.
for QBs. And even with Pickett, people kind of had a hunch that Pittsburgh, having him being a bit of a hometown prospect for them, played a role in taking him. um you know I guess beyond that, quarterbacks like Baker still out there looking
Yeah.
for a landing spot pretty much.
I've still been
That's
hearing a lot of ties with him and Carolina. At least seeing a lot of stuff, but obviously it's still just rumors. But um, yeah, what were you saying?
Yeah, I mean Carolina would be like, I feel like we've kind of touched on Baker before, that
Yeah,
it's basically the same thing, that like he's not great, but he's definitely not like he's definitely not someone that shouldn't like find a team right now with um even, yeah, Carolina's a good place if they're still interested,
yeah,
considering they don't really have much of, still rolling with Darnold. And yeah, I
yeah, yeah. I don't know. My thing is Darnold. I don't know if Baker, even if he does come play at like a similar level he played at in 2021 or 2022, if it's going to be that big of a difference, or it's not going to get them over the hump, over the hump. Like that's not going to. I personally, I don't think that's going to be the difference between like them making or missing the playoffs.
mhm.
Um, I just don't think Baker's good enough to get that team to the playoffs. If Sam
Yeah,
Darnold's not going to be able to do it, not saying one of them is better than the other, but I just don't think there's that big of a difference in terms of talent. Especially if you look at his 2021 stats, it threw for 3,000 yards, 17 TDs and 13 interceptions. So it's not eye popping numbers or anything. Um,
yeah, I do think Baker's better than what he showed last year, of course, with
yeah,
the injury and all. But I totally get um where you're coming from with him not being enough to really put someone over the top, unless
yeah. I
um
think the thing with Darnold was they got him at what did they get? What did they trade for him? Do you remember? Yeah, I don't think it was that much. It was like a third
yeah,
rounder, I think maybe.
yeah, I'm not totally sure either, but yeah.
So I think they were just trying to see if he works out. He's still young, so if he works out, good for them. If not, it's they're not wasting like first round draft capital on him or anything like that. So
Mhm.
um I think he's more of a bridge quarterback and they're more of not rebuilding, but transitioning or yeah, in like a bridge year.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I guess now moving on from QBs, we've obviously already had so much big news with you know, how the landscape has changed over this offseason with regarding, the wide receiver position. And,
Mhm.
the biggest splash there in the draft, I think, was definitely the Eagles trading for AJ Brown. Um,
That was huge. That was, I don't think anyone saw that coming, but it makes sense for them,
mhm,
for the in my opinion, it makes sense for the Titans because actually, I don't know. Because I mean, Derrick Henry, you got maybe another year of Derrick Henry at an elite level, so obviously the goal with that trade was they're AJ Brown, they're gonna have to trade, they're gonna have to sign. If they kept him, they would have had to sign him to, you know, 20 million a year, 25 million a year. So a lot of money. Um, Pretty much they traded him and used that first round pick to get a wide receiver that they can sign for 10 million a year. So it makes sense from a financial standpoint, but if you look at Tennessee, you got a year, maybe two left of, having the best running back in football, or one of the best at least. So yeah, I don't know if that's a trade you make just with the window kind of closing on them in terms of Derrick Henry.
yeah, I mean, yeah, you never know, like as far as running backs primes, it's such a physical position, especially the way Derrick Henry plays it. And
Yeah.
the drop off, of course, it can come at any time. Who knows how much longer, at this like all-time level Derrick Henry has. But um at the same time, as long as you still have him, he's going to be their focal point on their offense. And of course, yeah, as you said, AJ Brown, um, it 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 made sense for them financially. And got, I think, a similar type of wide receiver. I don't really know how, um, yeah, Traylon Burks, out of Arkansas. So
Mhm.
I think I've read up a bit that he was comped to AJ Brown in a couple of regards. So
Yeah.
yeah, it made sense for the Titans. And also for the Eagles, of course.
Yeah.
They're the you know the they were thought of as the biggest beneficiary in this, considering they got the best player out of it, obviously, with
Yeah. I heard Jalen Hurts push for that trade actually, which is, if we've learned something over the last couple of years, it's listen to your quarterbacks when they want a player. AJ Brown and then Jamar Chase, obviously with the Bengals.
mhm.
So, maybe the Packers front office should take a hint, but
Oh
uh,
yeah, they didn't even draft a wide receiver again in the first round.
it's
Yeah,
it's gotten ridiculous.
yeah. I
Like,
Yeah, I mean, of course, J yeah, Jalen
yeah, they
Hurts.
drafted Christian Watson. I think he was a second rounder, if I'm not wrong, which is
Yeah.
fine. I mean, he's still, seems like a good talent, at least on paper and from what we've seen in college. But um, with a team that just lost one of the, if not the best wide receiver in football, I think you got to do more, especially with, they just signed Aaron Rodgers to another $150 million contract. So you got to try and put him in a position to win. And I don't think that's, you know, yeah, I just don't know if it's going to get it done.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed there. Just obviously it was still with getting back to the Eagles. I think that this move also is pretty big in because a lot of people have their doubts about Jalen Hurts and his
Mhm.
capability as a passer. And yeah, getting AJ Brown there is it's definitely one of those moves where you're gonna kind of see more of what you have to work with in Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
And playing in the division that they do, I guess I would still favor Dallas a little by a smidge
Mhm.
to win that division, but it is huge in them competing for tops in this division and ultimately getting a home playoff game in the process. Um,
Yeah, I think that definitely the AJ Brown trade is going to be huge for them. One thing I don't like about, I feel like there's so many critics of young quarterbacks nowadays. If you're, people see like a Justin Herbert or a Joe Burrow coming into the league and immediately having success, that, they expect that to be the norm. Whereas, transitioning into the NFL is a very big, difficult process. So, QBs like Jalen Hurts, Tua, Trevor Lawrence, I feel like they not got written off, but people were kind of, um, trash talking them the last season because they weren't able to produce. But I don't think they necessarily had the team around them to produce, so it's not 100% on them. Um, yeah, that's just something I wanted to put out there. But
yeah, yeah. Over the last couple of years, we've seen so many QBs make that leap in their second year, and you know that does that does cloud a lot of people's judgments on um how early you want a quarterback to like blossom. Not
yeah,
everybody is gonna be acclimated that quickly. Definitely you still have to, there's only so much time you can give them, but
Mhm.
at a certain point you do figure out that he is or he isn't your guy.
Yeah,
But I think that this is, that's again huge for the Eagles, and they're gonna find out more on if Jalen Hurts is their guy or not this year, with them getting a definite elite wide receiver out of this trade. Uh, I think ever since pretty much as far as I can remember, the last time the Eagles have had like really um elite like wide receivers would have been the back end of like Alshon Jeffrey's prime.
yeah,
Um, I can't really think, ever since then it's been kind of just middling. So
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, again, this is gonna, I think a lot of people had Dallas, would have had Dallas before this move and be pretty convinced about it. But I think now, it's the Eagles definitely, would
Yeah,
like their chances a lot better. And
yeah, completely agreed. Yeah, um, yeah, wide receiver was a big point of emphasis for a lot of teams in the first round. Obviously, the Eagles got AJ Brown through a trade, and then I think there were four or five other wide receivers taken in the first round. Drake London, Garrett Wilson, Olave, Jameson Williams, Jahan Dotson, Traylon Burks. Was it six? Yeah, it might have been six. Yeah. So it's a very big point of emphasis for teams nowadays. They realize that the NFL is kind of becoming more of a, well, it is becoming more of a passing league, and you need to have talent on the outside to be able to compete.
yeah, I mean,
Um,
I guess in contrast to that, I think a trade that was kind of head scratching was the Cardinals trading their first round, or what? Yeah, the 23 pick for Hollywood Brown.
oh, I completely forgot about that.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, that one I don't know about, like that. it was kind of the same goal in mind because I think they were trying to, um, getting a new receiver after being unable to pay Christian Kirk,
Mhm.
was what
Isn't Hollywood
caused.
due for a payday next year though? If I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
yeah,
He
yeah.
is either way. Yeah.
He has like one more cheap season left, but yeah,
So,
otherwise, yeah. I just yeah, as we said earlier, just a head scratcher there.
yeah, I'm assuming they probably wanted one of the because there were a lot of talented receivers. They probably wanted one of those to fall to that pick,
yeah.
and clearly none of them did. So, um, they pulled the trigger, but I don't think that trade makes sense for either team. I
Mhm.
I just don't get it.
I get I suppose like yeah, the Cards have kind of had some success with like speedsters in the past, and he has some familiarity with Kyler, having played with him at Oklahoma. But um, maybe the intent behind it was to kind of appease Kyler a bit, considering he's been upset, seemingly so in this offseason.
Yeah, I
But
think it was, but I mean, I don't know.
yeah.
Get the contract done then, which is obviously easier said than done, but you know,
Mhm.
I don't know. And they lost what it was not a waste per se, but they lost D Hop for 6 games now. So it's going to be AJ Green
Yeah,
and,
that's
and
right.
Hollywood on the outside with Rondell Moore on the inside. And Rondell Moore was he a first rounder last year?
I'm not sure.
I think Rondell was. Let me double check. Okay, no, he was a second rounder, so not a first, but still, they spent high draft capital on him. Second rounder is a lot in the NFL, and
Mhm.
they haven't really utilized him. I don't know if they've figured out how to utilize him yet. I think he's kind of supposed to play that. I'm trying to think of a wide receiver Debo role, but obviously not in between the numbers.
Yeah.
Um, so hopefully they can figure out how to utilize him this season. With he should have an opportunity with D Hop being out for a couple of games, but yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, yeah, it seemed as a whole like this the wide receiver demand in the first round, as six went in the first round, was
Hmm.
kind of motivated to an extent by just how the wide receiver market has evolved this offseason.
Yeah,
Seemingly you had Christian Kirk being paid like 20 million a year pretty much by the Jaguars. So
yeah,
it kind of seems like a rush to, for receivers to,
yeah. If wide receiver, well, Christian Kirk would be a wide receiver one, I guess, right, for
yeah.
the Jags. Yeah, but yeah, the demand for receivers in the NFL has definitely gotten up. So, and you can't afford to be spending if you want two elite receivers. You can't afford to spend 30-40% of your salary cap on two people on for the team.
Mhm.
So it makes sense why receivers are so in demand and why teams are trying to either trade for or draft cheaper receivers, and rely on them the first couple of years. But yeah. Um, what else? I don't think if we missed anything.
Yeah, I feel like those were. Oh, yeah.
And Joku got a big deal yesterday or a couple days ago. Yesterday.
No,
or
I
2 days
actually
ago.
didn't see that. No.
He got a 4-year, $57 million extension with like 23 million guaranteed or something. So I think, yeah, this is completely just sidetracked, not about the draft, but I think with Hooper finally gone, I think, and Joku, they drafted him in the first round, so they obviously saw talent in him when they drafted him. But now with Austin Hooper kind of out of the picture, and Jarvis is gone as well. So obviously they acquired Amari, but I think Njoku will have a good opportunity this season to kind of really showcase his talents, and yeah, I think he'll have a great year.
Let's see. Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if we have anything else, any other big
I think
NFL news or
those seem like the biggest takeaways as far as I can think of.
Yeah.
Uh, let's-
Yeah, I agree with you. Oh, one thing. Did you see that Kaepernick got a workout
with who? I didn't know.
with Vegas, Las Vegas, a couple days ago? I don't know if that led to anything, but it's at least on the right track.
Yeah, I feel like the traction on him trying to still make his way back into the league is kind of slowed up in the last couple of years.
It's sad to see that he got essentially kicked out of the league just for fighting for something he believed in, which is ridiculous. But yeah, it's good to see him at least getting a workout. So hopefully they sign him, or hopefully it works out for him. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this episode, unless there's anything you wanted to finish up with. But
yeah, I mean that's all I got too.
All right. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for everyone who tuned in, and we'll see you next time.